Hi there folks, my name's NovaWing24 and welcome to another Microsoft Flight Simulator product review, and this one the first one for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, the interesting new addition to the Microsoft Flight Simulator franchise. Anyway, that is of course not the focus of this video. Today we are having a look at this beautiful little bird here, the latest release from the team over at Cows Simulation, with the release of their latest Diamond aircraft, the release of the Diamond DA40-XLS. So, well, they've once again expanded into the Diamond product line, and this one is possibly a bit of a interesting release, and of course, and is very reminiscent of a release of another great developer, of course, the team over at A2A, back in the days when they released their Piper Cub, with many people perhaps asking the question of why would the team over at Cows release an aircraft that is not just adjacent to an aircraft that ships with the sim, but one that is literally released with two variants of it is released with the base sim, and we're going to get into that as part of the review today. But before we go any further into this review, I do want to say a huge shout out and a huge thank you to the team over at Cow Simulation and the team over at Orbx for providing me with a review copy of this aircraft today to bring to you to review. As far as this review goes, we're going to be doing pretty much our traditional format here. We're going to be going through, having a walk around of the aircraft, as we can actually do a walk around now in the latest sim. Then we're going to take it up for we're going to do a cold and dark start. Then we're going to go through a test flight, including we're going to shoot an ILS approach into the nearby Edinburgh Royal Australian Air Force Base, and then we're going to be going on and giving our final thoughts and our final review. So we're going to be, as we said, we're doing our usual sort of camera drone walk around of the aircraft here, but I think it might actually be better for us to take a chance and have a look at the one of the new modes that's been brought into us with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and let's do an actual walk around of the aircraft. So let's do that. All right, so now we are in our first-person view, so we can do a proper walk around of the aircraft, and this is probably the reason why one of many reasons why I wanted to have a look at this aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 as opposed to 2020, because this aircraft is available in both sims. Because this is probably something that I have been, was most excited about for 2024, and something that I have not had since the old Microsoft Flight days, and I very much missed, and I think that was something that was not taken advantage of enough in Prepared, and was super excited to see that this was going to be included in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So let's go around and do our walk around and our pre-flight. So we can see that the team have done an absolutely fantastic job on the model, which is something that, that they kind of had something quite a lot to live up to, given the fact that, as I said at the intro to this video, that the DA40 is an aircraft that is available in two different versions by default in the sim. So you get the NG and the TDI in the base sim, or the premium deluxe version of the sim if you want the TDI. But the team over at Cows have chosen to represent the Diamond DA40-XLS, which was the final variant of the base version of the DA40, the original DA40. So, I mean, they're all DA40s, but the XLS, as I said, is the final version of the base Diamond DA40, the original, so the OG, as it were, of the Diamond DA40 family. And now the team over at Cows have definitely taken a great attention to detail, and done a lot of wear and tear on the aircraft. There's plenty of nice paint scuffing of the aircraft, a huge amount of detail. However, probably one of the things that's important to note, though, particularly for 2024 users of the aircraft, is that some of the extra features that you might be expecting in the walk around mode, such as the covers, so the reds, you'll remove before flight tags, and being able to interact with external parts of the aircraft, like, for example, being able to interact with engine ports, oil functions, stuff like that. You do not have that option available. I don't know if this is something that the team over cows are going to add in later on. I definitely very much hope that they do, but things like, being able to check the, condition of the prop or condition of the tires, being able to open up the engine cover, check the oil, check the fuel, check your lights and stuff like that, is not something that you can do in the walk around mode at the time of at least making this review video. I haven't seen anything to say that they are going to bring it in. I also haven't seen anything saying that they are not going to bring it in. So this is something that hopefully we'll see in the future because, as I said, like the walk around mode of this new generation of the sim is something that I am super excited to see, and I think is a great opportunity that I really hope the team over at Cows take advantage of in the future. Otherwise, we can have a look at some of the detail here. Like, yeah, there's some incredible detail that's been gone into the work from the team over Cows. A lot of life gone into the texture. Really accurate 3D model. It really captures the model, the actual airframe design really, really well. I do like the fact that it is a Cows DA40. So I'm sure covering avoiding certain copyright and legal issues. But yeah, a lot of detail gone into here. So and it's sort of like a real bit of a shame that I see the the no handhold there, but I can't actually sort of reach and actually check the function of any of the flight control services, which I can do with the default aircraft. That does not take away from the effort that the team have done, absolutely not. But it is something that is just something to be aware of if you were expecting to have that function in the DA40 as it is in 2024. So in that way, it is probably important to stress that this is more accurately to say that this is a Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 aircraft that has been made compatible with 2024 rather than a 2024 native aircraft. So that's probably just something to note for everybody if you are making any purchasing decisions and things like that. All right, so without any further ado, let's jump back into the cockpit and let's get ourselves into the office. All right, so here we are in the office of the Diamond DA40. And of course, one of the great things about Diamond aircraft is the fact that they are all based off a shared cockpit design. Much like Airbus, it's a very intelligent decision to really make when it comes to things like that, because it means that pilots. It's a lot more familiar for them when they're moving from one type to the other. And again, of course, is why they're very popular with training schools as well, because you can move from a DA20 into a DA40, then into a DA42, into a DA62, essentially with a very commonality of controls and layouts and setups. So it's very easy for you to move between one aircraft type to the next in order to help improve the quality of the training and the quality of the training outcomes for everybody. In fact, we can actually see as one of the static aircraft over there at Parafield Airport here, one of Flight Training Australia's Diamond aircraft. So it's one of the reasons why I chose this airfield to do our test flight out of, because they do operate DA40s and DA42s out of this airfield as part of their training program. Anyway, moving on. If you're familiar with the Diamond aircraft in the default in the sim, you are going to find it very familiar here as well. So nothing really to sort of write home about too for that one. Of course, I previously reviewed the Diamond DA42 from Cows, had a lot of positive things to say about the model design here, so can't really fault them here, but we'll obviously sort of point out any bad things here because there's nothing really to point out. Like, the team have done a great representation of the aircraft. Now, probably a couple of things to show off here to get started. Obviously, you do have an animated canopy. I probably should have that open before I mysteriously teleported myself back inside. But yes, you do have an animation for that. One of the first things that I found was a bit of an odd thing that I noticed with this one is that there is no tablet for you to bring up here. It does have full compatibility with the default 2024 tablet, so you can bring that here just with the keybind that you have for it. But yeah, it was a little bit odd. Like, where's my EFB? I was expecting to see my EFB, and it's not there because they're just natively using the 2024 one. Perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's just one of those random things. If you're expecting to see it sitting down there like I was, no, it's not going to be there. Anyway, let's go through and bring up actually that one so we can bring up our checklist. So one, of course, the things that I am always very, very, I go on about on a regular basis here is that I like to see to make sure that developers actually put in native checklists into the sim because it's super important, especially for console members of our flight simulation family that have access to these checklists from within the sim rather than having to go to an external tool. So we're going to go through our checklist here to get ourselves into the sky. But I'll go through something. We'll start the checklist, and I'll go through a bit more of a derivation of that one a little bit later on. All right, let's set our takeoff trims. So our elevator trim is set. All right, throttle, propeller, and mixture set. Throttle is set to idle. Propeller set to high. Mixture set to idle cutoff. Check. Parking brake is set. Forwards, I love that. Forwards go, backwards stop. I do like that. Nice little explanation there. All right, ignition set to off. Check. Alternate air set to close. Check. And yes, you can actually change that. So that is an animated thing, and it does actually affect the aircraft flight dynamics, which is a really important reason for why you probably would want to get this aircraft rather than just rely on the default one that is in the sim. All right, masters all off. Yep, masters are all off. Check. Set. Alternate static is close. Check. All right, right close, backwards open. So yes, you do have the option to change that if you so desire. All right, all lights are set to off. Check. All right, circuit breakers, check all in. I haven't blown anything on my previous test flights, so we are good to go there. Flap selector, check up. It's checked. Heater heat, fuel pump set to off. Check. Battery master set to on. All right. Now, this is where we're just going to quickly take a break from the checklist for a moment here, because I do actually want to show this off here. So this Diamond DA40-XLS comes with a Gamma G1000 setup here. Which is forked from the working title version, sort of native avionics for the sim. So great to see the supporting the great work the working title and Asobo have been doing with this one. But they is slightly customized for this one. So you do actually have, and this is again getting into why it is important, why it would be you would even consider getting this as opposed to using the default one that comes with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024. Is that if you go into the engine page and then go into menu, you actually have some extra features here. So you actually have failures modes. So there are this rendition of the Diamond DA40 does include proper realistic modeling, realistic physics for modeling of the engine, updated flight dynamics to actually make it more in line with the actual aircraft, as well as failures. There are a stupid number of failures that this aircraft can suffer. Everything from light bulbs blowing to brakes failing, landing gear failures, tires blowing out, through to the engine literally blowing up. Like there is an insane amount of failures being modeled here. Beyond that, it also models the state of the engine, so in the state of the airframe. So if you treat this airframe poorly, that will be reflected later on down the track as you keep flying it. So treat the airframe right, or things will start breaking. So that's really, really cool to see that they actually have modeled that and modeled that well. So great to see that one. You've got realistic parking brake behavior versus sort of default, not sort of overzealous parking brake behavior. Engine startup process. So if you want to make things a bit easier, you can. It does support Control E if you just don't want to do a Control E start, or if you're having trouble with the starting sequence. Which, by the way, it may not necessarily fire first time, and I have no idea if it's going to do it or not, because this does actually have proper modeling of each and every cylinder of the Lycoming engine that this aircraft is modeled with. So this isn't modeled with the later generation sort of Aerostar or the diesel engine, which you find with the NG and the TDI. This is a Lycoming engine modeling, complete with custom modeling of each combustion symbol and how it does fuel intake. So it won't necessarily catch on the first try. You don't just click start and go. You've got to hold it, you've got to feed the fuel into it and all the rest of it. So this is really important, but this is where you can change and set and change various things like that as you want to go with this one. It also has with the steering as well, it has a casted nose wheel rather than nose wheel steering. So it's steering with, if you don't have enough airflow going over the rudder for rudder authority, then you steer by using differential braking, just like you do in the real aircraft. So again, This puts into the same kind of category of, why people asked when A2A released a Piper Cub for Microsoft Flight Simulator at 10 back in the day. Why would you do that when there's one already in the sim? Is because this one is so much more realistic. Don't get me wrong, like the default ones are pretty well modeled. This one takes it to a whole new level. So this is probably the most important thing to highlight with this aircraft. So I did want to make sure that I highlighted that as part of this process. All right, but then anyway, let's enough of that time. Let's get back into our checklist here. So bring back up our checklist. All right, so our battery master is on. G1000 is powered and acknowledged. All right, flight controls free and correct. Free and correct. Okay, rudder turning. Make sure the pedals are moving. Yep, they are. And check my elevators. Yep, free and clear. We are good there. All right, flaps full travel test. So take off flaps, travel, full landing flaps, check. Corresponding position check and retracts. All right, movement checked and fuel selector set to lowest tank. Let me just quickly change the page for that one. We've got even page, little below 50%. Okay, so we'll do left fuel. Right, fuel tank's both 12 gallons. All right, set. All right, we'll just use it on left tank for now. All right, that page is complete. Engine start checklist. All right, doors closed and locked. Check. ACL's aircraft strobe light is on. Check. Throttle open 2 inches. Bottom of the E. Fuel pump is on. Mixture full rich open for 3 to 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4.5 gallons flows and close. All right, throttle open, top edge, along with the E. All right, now we go through and set the ignition. All right, as I said, it may not start first turn. Okay. It does take a couple of turns sometimes. Okay. And then you push the mixture forward as the engine catches. So again, that's something that you won't find in the default version of the DA40 is that, it will just, you click it to E, click it to start and it will just start. Because of the way the team of cows have actually accurately modeled the flow and the process of the engine, it will not catch every time. It will not necessarily catch first time. As you said, just in that startup sequence here for the review video, it took until 3 catches before it actually caught the way it's supposed to, which is just like real life. So already you can see that this is a more in-depth version of the aircraft. All right, so we'll go through here. All right, check the oil pressure is in the green. Oil pressure is in the green. Check. Throttle 1000 RPM. Check. Fuel pump is set to off. Check. Fuel pressure still in the green. Check. Alternator master is on. Check drop in RPM. So 1060 RPM. 10 RPM drop. Check. So we know it is on and working. Voltage electrical load is good. Okay. All right. Engine start checklist complete. All right. Post engine start checklist. Pull mixture back until RPM starts to drop. Get that mouse out of the way. There's the RPM starting to drop. Ground leaning. All right. Lights as required. Taxi lights on. Position lights on. All right. Standby horizon cage. Now I'll just get a quick weather update. So check my altimeter setting. As I said earlier, we're actually at Parafield, which is a add-on airport available from Orbx Direct.
Parafield Airport information, Echo 0200 Zulu. Wind 125 at 7. Visibility 6. Sky condition, few clouds at 4,800 feet temperature, 28. Dew point 10. QNH 101000. Visual runway 8R and visual runway 8L in use. Landing and departing runway 8R and runway 8L.
Okay, all right, there we go. All right, so runway 08 is our active, and we've got our Q&H is set. All right, bring up avionics again. Bring up our checklist again. All right, standby roles and cage. Flaps set to takeoff. Set. Pitot heat. Test. Annunciator out. All right, avionics master is on. So that gives us our autopilot capabilities when we need it. Transponder. Okay, transponder set. VFR. Set. Altimeters both set. All right, autopilot test perform. Okay. Check. Active and deactive. All right, that's good. CDI source. Go. All right, good. FMS setup complete. All right, so I'll set a 5,000 feet cruising altitude today. We'll do 4,000, I think. We'll live dangerously. We'll set 4,000 feet today. All right, set. Don't just check this one. Okay. It's always funny because I had a start in Origin here. It's sort of like freaked out a little bit. So it looks like we're not going to be using the GPS today, but that's all right. So in that way, so I'm going to change that one for when we shoot our ILS approach later. Speaking of, as I know, we're going to be doing a missed ILS approach in a little bit. I'm actually going to preset that nav frequency. So that one's going to be 110.7. So we're going to check that and adjust that now. All right, so now that I've got my FMS set up now, we can keep going. So we've checked up the altitude that we're going to be fooling around at today, 4,000 feet. We've got our transponder set, and we are good to go. All right, so now we are ready to take off now. We've got our 08 is in use. So we're going to close out that which looks like. So we're going to go fuel selector to fullest tank. So we started on the left, so we're going to go over to the right tank for our taxi and departure. All right, taxi light is on. Now we're going to do our parking brake and brakes test. So we're going to release my parking brake. Okay, brakes checked. Back on. Brakes are checked. Flight instruments are good to go. All right, we are good for our taxi and our departure. All right, here we go. Parking brake released. As I was saying before, you do have to do the bit of we don't have the airflow going. We don't have a steerable nose wheel. We're relying on a casted nose wheel. We do have to use differential braking for our taxiing. A little bit fast for our taxi there. And again, you can feel that, like with the modeling there, that little ding that you just heard is because once the RPMs are too low, the alternator will drop out because it doesn't have enough RPMs to actually be able to keep it going. So you do hear the little warning ding when that happens. Taxi down now to 08 for our departure. You have to do a little bit of work on the rudder here for your taxiing, simply because of the little bit of work on the rudder, but as I said, more with the differential braking mostly for your taxiing. We're going to depart from 08 right today. So we're going to have to taxi down past the end of 08 left. Yeah, it's funny because one of the things that I do love about, the new reboot of Microsoft Flight Simulator, both 2020 and 2024, is the amount of detail and that we get in the world now, particularly with some of these add-on airports that get done really, really well. All right. Now we won't need to use a full field departure, so we are going to do a mid-field departure. So we are going to have to cross 08. As I said, we're going to depart on 08 right and arrive back in on 08 left. See, sorry, tell a lie. Actually, tell a lie. I just checked the details. We are 08 left is the active for departures. That's what happens if you don't pay attention to where your aircraft is going. And then 08 right is our arrival. So we will be taking off from 08 left today. We should not need a full field departure. Line up. Okay. All right, landing light is on, taxi light off. Mixture full rich. And throttle up. You do need to have a bit of left rudder for the prop. Possibly miscalculated that takeoff distance roll. Ah, plenty of time. We're fine. All right, flaps up. Don't have to worry about bringing the gear up, given that the gear is fixed in this aircraft. As we climb out, we're going to head out over the mountains and have a look at the aircraft in the sky before we, as I said, head over to Edinburgh to practice a missed ILS approach before coming back to Parafield. But the aircraft, as I said, like, yeah, it feels, and I don't want to decry the work that the team over at Asobo have done with their DA40s that ship with the base sim. But one of the reasons why I think this aircraft from Cows is great is that you do feel that extra little bit of pull on the takeoff roll. You do feel the bumps a bit more in the airframe. It does feel a bit more like a DA40. Now, I do not have any personal time in a DA40 myself, but I've got something time in the Technam, very similar sort of aircraft. So feeling the actual dropping of the aircraft, sort of dropping around, I do feel that this does feel a bit more like the real thing. You do get more of the bumps that I would expect to feel in the aircraft here. Just passing through 1,200 feet. Heading up to 4,000 to do our safe maneuvering here. It does feel like one of the things that's sort of noticeable, with all the Diamond aircraft is they do feel sometimes a little bit wallowy just because of the giant size of their wings. But that also is one of the things that makes them very popular as trainers, because they are very forgiving in how they fly. So sort of getting around about 80 knots in our climb out. Nice and steady there. Now, as I said, you do have, sort of saw during the setup here, you do have the full suite of things that you might be used to with the Garmin G1000 sort of setup here. So you do have you do have autopilot, you have a fully functional software suite to be able to use it. No auto throttle though, so you are going to have to manually fly the aircraft in terms of that kind of stuff. But you do have a lot of the mod cons as comes with a glass cockpit aircraft. To start pulling back on that throttle and the RPMs a little bit. Manifold pressure down a little bit. RPMs especially, getting back in green. Go back down to 2,400 RPMs. somewhere between sort of 7.5 and 10 degrees nose up for your climb out. Give you around about 1,000 feet per minute. From what I can tell on reading the books and reading the pilot's operating handbook, is that this aircraft is again, like the Servo one is pretty good on the numbers. This one is just a little bit better. Probably one of the most important things to talk about, though, in terms of realism of this aircraft is the engine probably modeling, is because it actually uses custom coding on the modeling of the engine performance, to actually model how it works, how it operates and runs at lower RPMs, which is something that the native default aircraft do struggle with. That's something that's very, very widely known in the development community. So, behaviors of the alternator not charging in the low RPM state, that's very well modeled. And if you run it like that for a while, you do run the issues of fouling the plugs, which again, this aircraft does model with the team, with the extra realism that the team at Cows have delivered to this aircraft. All right, as we sort of head up here, what we might do is we might put it on a bit of an autopilot course here, and then we can jump out and we'll have a look at the aircraft from the outside now that she's in the air. All right, so here we are having a look at the outside of the aircraft, and again, much like what we saw when we gave her the walk around at ground level, the team have done a really good job. I mean, they really would have been called out pretty badly if they had done a poor job, given the fact, as I said, there is 2 versions of this aircraft already in the base sim. So, it's not surprising that the team did a good job on the model. I think that the team have definitely done a great job of giving this aircraft a bit of a weathered and alive appearance. So, great work on the texture and the modeling. Can't really fault it. But it's got one really interesting quirk that's it's not unique to this one, that I've seen a few times now with a couple of aircraft that are available for both Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024, is this weird thing that you're flying a ghost airplane. Now, this is not something against cows here. I feel that this is an issue that's probably deeper to the core sim, so this is definitely not saying that this is cows' fault. But this is I've seen 3 add-on aircraft now, including the others that I'm working on reviews for, where this weird condition where if you're in either drone cam view or even just in the normal external cam view, you don't get to see the people. And I'm like, that's weird and very odd. So yeah, it's a bit of an odd thing. I'm sure that I'm going to bet that it's a sim issue or something, and probably more than likely lack of documentation being provided to the development community. So hopefully we will not be flying ghost planes for much longer. But yeah, just again, buyer beware. Not going to say it's a bad thing. It's just an oddity and something to be aware of at the moment. But otherwise, the team have done a great job in terms of the modeling and how it looks on the outside. Well, let's jump back inside and put ourselves through a few basic maneuvers. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll put ourselves through a couple of steep turns. It probably is going to be a bit of a challenge given the fact that I'm over some rather turbulent weather at the moment. But what we're going to do is we'll do a steep turn. We'll power back a little bit here. Do a steep turn. Once I level back out, as I said, I probably picked a bad part of the airspace to actually do this within. But we'll do a steep turn and see how she handles that maneuver. Right, so steep turn, aiming to keep around about 4,000 feet through this maneuver. And this is probably something to remember, that this aircraft is one of the reasons why it's so popular as a trainer aircraft is that she is very docile and it is very forgiving. The big sail-like wings that all the Diamond family have, sort of definitely lend themselves towards this, but also give some challenges in terms of how you maneuver, particularly at higher speeds. And it's definitely a little bit faster than I probably wanted to be during this maneuver. But as you can see, it holds the attitude really, really easily, and is pretty good on holding the altitude, the altitude reasonably well, even compensating for the fact that we do have some rather turbulent air that we're trying to perform this maneuver in. So again, you can see why this aircraft, the team at Cows have definitely done a great job with this aircraft and bringing it to life. And this is something where, I sometimes have a bit of, mixed feelings about when it comes to, how do I feel about, you know, the realism, using the term realism for something when we're sitting on our couches and when we're, sitting on our couches and from home or our comfy office chairs, as opposed to what it's like to fly in a real aircraft. It can be a tough conversation to have about, where do we sit, and that at what point is, do we have to sort of trade and say, hey, you know, this is good, but this is also as real as you can get, given the limitations of the fact that we're doing this from home, kind of thing. There is some conversations to have about that. That can be quite challenging. That sometimes get lost in translation, and I think that the team at Cows have done a really, really good job at doing that one as we sort of roll out. As you saw, it rolled out. My intention was to roll out on 270. It rolled out on 269. So pretty happy with the ease and the balance of the roll there. Happy with the performance and how it held it. So I think that the team at Cows have definitely nailed the flight dynamics. Really, really impressed with how they've done that. So I think the next thing we should probably look at is also the night lighting, because of course this aircraft is fully IFR rated. So it's important to know that you can operate this. One of the reasons why we're going to be shooting a ILS very, very shortly to show that off. But let's have a look at what the aircraft looks like at night. So the night lighting is actually really, really well done. Again, it's fairly basic for a GA aircraft like this. It is a fairly basic lighting setup. You've got your backlit instrumentation here. You also have a floodlight over the center of the main control panel with adjusting there. Nice, bright, clear sort of LEDs. You do also have a number of cabin lights as well that you can turn on that do illuminate the cabin. Both the main cabin sort of behind you and also your map lights for the main cockpit. But generally, just like you don't drive with them in a car, you also don't fly with them on unless you absolutely have to. In terms of external night lighting, let's go and have a look. I think probably the external night lighting is probably some of the best that I've seen, with actually sort of like, the lighting effects, particularly sort of, in the atmosphere around it. I don't know how much I can attribute that to the sim versus developer, but either way, I think that they've done a great job with it, sort of breaking it up with the appearance against the skyline. So you've got the strobes being very, very clear there with a nice bit of ambient sort of fog around them. I feel that might be a little overdone, considering that we are in clear skies at the moment with no atmospheric haze, so I think maybe that might be a little overdone, but that's an incredibly minor thing to sort of talk about with that. But otherwise, very clear layout of the lighting and really well done. All right, well, on that, I think we might cut the video there, and we'll rejoin the video as we come in to do a missed ILS approach into Edinburgh.
Edinburgh Tower, Victor Hotel. Mike Juliet Mike is 6 miles north 1,700 feet with India touch, and go.
Victor Hotel, Mike Juliet Mike Edinburgh Tower. QNH 1009er, make straight in runway 18.
Make straight in runway 18, Mike Juliet Mike.
All right,
Mike Juliet,
we
Mike
are
line
coming
144
in
at 7. Clear touch and go
on
left
to do
traffic runway 18.
ILS approach here to Edinburgh.
Cleared for touch and go runway 18, Mike Juliet Mike.
A little bit above the slope, drop it down a little bit. First stage flaps. Lights on, takes lights off. Definitely coming in a little high on this approach. Let's correct that down. We are on the line, but we are a little high. Getting back on the path. Now, I know I could engage the autopilot for the approach for this one, but I am far more of a hands-on flyer myself. So more comfortable with flying hands-on. Bit of crosswind there. Got to keep our nose pointed into the wind a little bit more to keep us on a flight path on the actual center line. Short, and he flaps out. Wind's kicking us a little bit more. Clean once the flaps up, wind out, center line. Says some of the challenges of getting the airflow back over the control surfaces again, getting us up to takeoff and back in the air again. There we go, and clean up. As I said, I just wanted to show off the fact that it is a fully IFR capable aircraft. You do have all the gadgets if you do want to access and operate out of controlled airfields and airfields with your modern equipment. So this aircraft is just as capable as the real life one. Very much has all the things that you would expect out of the real life aircraft, as well as it is comparable to the default aircraft. So it's not like although this is a first generation, well, not even the first generation version of the DA40, but the sort of like the final generation of the first generation, generational sort of confusion here for this aircraft. So you're not missing out on anything for this one when it compares to real life. And quite frankly, this is probably potentially going to be more like the aircraft that you would find in real life. That many of you, especially if you're looking at perhaps moving into real world aviation, if you do get passionate about real world aviation after spending some time flying in the sim, and then you may very well find yourself flying one of these aircraft as an actual in real life. So with that, let's head now to back to our home airport over there at Parafield. We can see just over there off to our left. So we can head in there, come in to land on 08 on 08 right. 08 left is the departure, so 08 right is the arrival. So we're going to extend out here, turn into downwind, coming for our final stop landing. And then we'll taxi up and we'll give our final thoughts on this little aircraft. Alright, coming in as we're flying base, turning base here into 08 right. Our aids here, so we'll switch the tank over to our fullest tank. A little bit high on this approach. can hear, like, I can almost hear the old RAS saying sort of unstable. Some interesting crosswinds coming in here. It's going to be a bit of a long landing, I think. Go. Rolling out. Right, clean up the flaps. Yeah, definitely can be a challenge, as I said, you know, sort of at the start of the video when we were talking about the free castering nose wheel. So as you start to lose that aerodynamic influence of the rudder control, it can make the steering on the ground a little bit challenging from time to time. It's one of the joys of some GA flying, which is one of the reasons why I love it so much. And again, I think that the team at Cows have really done a good job of capturing the essence of this aircraft. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the default ones are bad, but this really does step it up to the next level, as it were. And it sounds so trite, I know, but at the same time, it's also the truth. Like, it absolutely is the truth. All right, well, let's roll out to the end of the runway here, and then we can turn off and we'll taxi back to our parking. And differential braking, helping us turn. Okay, clear on the taxiway. Alright, so post landing, probes off. Okay, taxi lights on, landing lights off. Might be a traffic jam if I take it. USI shouldn't be blocking the taxiway, should be able to get around him. One of the challenges of flying with real world traffic sometimes, or the generated traffic, that sometimes it's like, why are you parked at the just chilling there? Good. Well, he's conveniently parked off to the side of the hold short line, so he clearly, obviously, made way for us. Thank you very much, sir. Taxi back up onto the ramp. And I think overall, yeah, she handles really quite nicely. As I said, the taxiing on the ground is definitely something that can be a challenge to get used to, particularly because we've been spoilt for so long with aircraft sort of having nose wheel steering. That is something that, you don't have here, so you are going to have to get used to. And as 172 taxis through the bus, I'm just going to go around the bus. And hopefully that 172. Okay, 172. Bye-bye. It's a very busy airport around here at the moment. All right. Parking spot there for us. This is a very busy GA airport in real life, and clearly with live traffic on, when I'm flying here, there is a lot of traffic here at the moment. All right, let's give it a chance to park up. All right, it's getting in here. Parked up. All right, securing the aircraft. All right, so parking brake is on. Prop forward, throttle is idle. Mixture set to fuel cutoff. Engine spinning down. All right, mag set to off. And yes, for those who caught it at the beginning of the video, I was a very naughty pilot and I did not run my, I did not do my proper magneto checks at the start of the flight, and I'm sure that will come back and bite me in the proverbial at some point in the future when I fly this aircraft, which again is one of the great things about this aircraft is that it will let you know when it wasn't happy with you down the point. All right, let's jump out and give our final thoughts. Alrighty, so final thoughts of the Diamond DA40-XLS from Cal Simulation for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Overall, it is a really solid aircraft. Like, the team have done an absolutely fantastic job recreating the Diamond DA40 and a very much following on and the pioneering spirit of A2A with taking an aircraft that a lot of people would be sort of asking themselves, why would you create, why would you do why would you get a payware aircraft for a version of an aircraft that is already in the sim twice? By default, depending on which version of the sim that you bought. Which, in of itself, on one level, is a great question, but the answer to that is in the complexity that they've added to this aircraft. It is technically a different variant of the aircraft. It is the XLS version of the base original first generation DA40, as opposed to the next generation or the TDI version. So it is technically a different aircraft, but it also speaks to the level of detail that Team Macau's have gone to with modeling the performance of the aircraft, both in terms of the flight dynamics and the flight performance and how it behaves in the air, and showing really in some ways what this sim is capable of. But also things like going into the systems, like the fact that the engine modeling is does surpass what the base aircraft do. This is not to say that the base default aircraft are terrible. They absolutely aren't. They are really good, solid representations of a DA40. But this one just ups the game a little bit more. And that is what we always want our add-on developers to do. So that then sort of brings us to the question of, who is this for? And that's a great question. And quite honestly, this is not going to be for everybody. Like, straight up, it just is not. This is an aircraft that is going to be for people who are passionate about general aviation, who are passionate about, learning more about aviation. If you are a tube liner pilot, this is not going to be for you. Straight up, it's not. If you are a very beginner pilot, stick with the NG and the TDI that ship with the base sim. However, if you are a virtual aviator that is looking to step up their experience and their knowledge about aviation and flying, perhaps with a look, with a view and a vision of eventually flying one of these, IRL, this is going to be an aircraft you're going to want to look at. Somebody else who's going to be wanting to look at is that somebody who's wanting to take the time and want the challenge of actually looking after an aircraft and learning what happens. Hey, if I don't treat this airplane right, if I don't lean the mixture on a regular basis, if I don't take care of making sure that I do all the steps in the checklist, what happens, that's what are the consequences of that. Again, you are going to be somebody that this aircraft you are going to want to look at and probably consider getting. There is definitely a place for this in the market. It is just not perhaps the wider potential that maybe some other aircraft might be, but that's okay. And as I said, I think the team over at Cows have done an absolutely incredible job doing what they've done, and really goes to show the power and the capabilities that this sim has under the hood. The other caveat that I'm going to put on this one is that this is very much a 2020 aircraft that has been made to work in 2024. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I please don't think that I'm saying, oh, well, that's terrible, because it's not. The fact that it does work in both sims is great. But if you are coming into 2024 and expecting the things like be able to do your walk around, which is something that an aircraft with this level of detail and systems modeling and stuff like that is something that I would expect to do, you're not going to have the opportunity to go around and check your reds. You're not going to have the walk around and check the your elevators and your ailerons, and your tire pressures and your oil levels before you get in the cockpit. So that is something that is probably is a slight disappointment for me, because everything else about this aircraft is done so well. Now, having said that, that is something that potentially the team at Cows is going to do in the future, and I really, really hope they do, and expand upon the capabilities for 2024. But given the fact that the 2024 is still very much a new sim for the developer community, I kind of expect it to not be here at this time. So I'm not going to say that that's a terrible thing or a showstopper, because it absolutely isn't, because the developer community needs time to adapt to the new sim, and I think that's perfectly okay. I would love to know if they're going to do it in the future, because I think that that would pretty much elevate this from a great add-on to a unbeatable add-on. I think that would be the only point I would say that would really push this one into into a new level of approval. Otherwise, if this aircraft is what you're looking for and looking for to challenge yourself and looking at experiencing as I hate to use the term as real as it gets, but if you're wanting to push the boundaries of realism from your couch and from your desk, your computer desk, this is an aircraft that you're going to want to grab, particularly if you are a fan of GA. For the airliner pilots, as I said, probably for most of you, it's probably not going to be a thing unless you're wanting to get your hands dirty, because like all airliner pilots do, where they actually get into smaller aircraft from time to time to make sure they remember the fundamentals that help get their big metal tubes to keep flying. So again, maybe you want to grab this one as well. So this is an add-on that is not for everybody, but it can be for everybody as long as you are aware of what you're getting into. Because this isn't, while you can just Control E, start this aircraft and do the basic stuff with it, that's not what this add-on is for. This add-on is meant to be flown and meant to be treated like a real airplane. And if you want to have the joys and the challenges of flying a real airplane without the price tag, yeah, definitely look at picking this one up. So with that sort of review, as I said, like overall, I think it's a great add-on. And the only thing that would move it from great to fantastic for me would be getting the reds added in. It's a stupidly minor thing, but yeah, I think that for the level of detail the team have gone to, that would just really round out and make this add-on fantastic. But still, it is a great add-on and a great addition to your GA hangar. And with that does round out this review. I do want to say once again a huge shout out and a huge thank you to the team over at Orbx and the team over at Cal Simulations for providing me with the review copy of this aircraft. We've been flying here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, also available for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, available now from Orbx Direct. And with that, folks, that does now round out this review. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, as always, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed these videos and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by following me on Facebook and on Twitter and on Twitch. Just search NovaWing24. All right, folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.